All right, good morning, members. Trust you got lots of sleep last night. But thank you for powering through and coming back this morning so we can continue the very important work that we began yesterday. And thank you for all the very valuable input and questions yesterday. I think we had a great day. And let's have another one. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into the testimony and try to power through here. And again, as we did yesterday, we're going to make sure everyone is to say their piece and ask their questions. So as we did yesterday, as the witnesses come up, if you would go ahead and push your button and get in the queue, and we will continue our practice of alternating between the two committees and giving preference to seniority as we call on you for your questions. So with that, changing up a little bit, we're going to start trying to accommodate some schedules. Of course, Senate is doing their hearing this morning as well. So we're going to start with Commissioner Craddick. She was like, what? The suspense is killing me.
Sam will come up and read the card for you. How's that?
Yeah. Thank you for being here. You know the drill, of course. State your name and who you represent, and you may proceed.
Good morning, and thank you for having me this morning. For the record, my name is Christi Craddick, and I'm the chairman of the Railroad Commission of Texas. Chairman, I get to say that on this side, and members, thank you for having me here today. I'd like to start by thanking the first responders, linemen, volunteers, and countless agency personnel who have worked tirelessly over the past 2 weeks to restore power across the state and keep Texans warm. In particular, I know that the Railroad Commission staff have worked around the clock, many of whom were without power and water themselves in order to keep gas flowing in the state. I am deeply grateful for everyone who played a role in returning power to homes across Texas, as I lost power for 4 days myself. We have power here today thanks to them, and I am sincerely appreciative. Thank you.
We're sorry your dad's interrupting your testimony.
Electronics are a challenge, you know. Appreciate it. I'd like to start by explaining what we do at the Railroad Commission for those of you who don't know. Our agency has primary regulatory jurisdiction over oil and gas production, pipelines, natural gas utilities, alternative fuels such as propane and coal, and uranium mining activity. As we talk about the events that transpired last week, it is important to remember that our regulatory jurisdiction includes gas production at the wellhead and transportation of gas through pipelines, but does not include electric power plants or gas processing plants. We provide permits for operators seeking to drill for oil and natural gas, pipe hydrocarbons, mine for coal and uranium, and dispose of produced water. We oversee the state-managed well plugging program, provide safety inspections for pipelines, and maintain the health and safety standards required for the industry. As we learned of the severity of the winter storm that was heading our way, my fellow commissioners and I convened an emergency meeting to prioritize human needs customers above all else for natural gas delivery. This was on Friday the 12th. Safety is our #1 priority at the Commission, so homes, hospitals, schools, and churches were granted priority status under our emergency amendment to the curtailment order. As the situation developed and further need was identified, we waived transport requirements for out-of-state alternative fuel haulers to allow expedited access for Texans should our state supply need to be supplemented. We authorized LDCs, or local distribution companies, to track and account for extraordinary expenses as a result of the storm, including but not limited to gas cost and transportation cost. This agency is committed to preventing undue financial burden on LDC customers, and this instruction will allow us to collect the data we need to help prevent that from happening. And we provided alternative options for saltwater disposal companies while maintaining our environmental safety standards to prevent wastewater from becoming a hazard in the freezing weather. My agency took proactive steps to prevent disruption to natural gas supply and availability and continued to be responsive to the needs of industry and Texans in order to maintain supply across the state. Some of this you've heard, so I'm going to skip a few things. How's that? During the 8-day span of below freezing temperatures, specifically in the Permian Basin, we took immediate action to address the problems that faced our natural gas providers out there and across the state. Through numerous conversations with operators, we learned of frozen roadways preventing crews from accessing the field. We worked with industry and TDM to clear those roads and allow access to the fields for operators. However, time and time again, the number one problem we heard reported from operators was a lack of power at their production sites. As outages spread across the state, the oil field was not immune, and unfortunately, operators were unable to keep their systems functioning as power was cut. Some operators did need to preemptively shut in their wells for safety and well integrity purposes prior to the storm. Industry told me they started doing that Monday, Tuesday, February 8th or 9th, as early as that time period. Starting on Tuesday, February 16th, as it was safe to return to the field, crews arrived to find that their facilities were experiencing outages. The oil fields simply cannot run without power, making electricity the best winterization tool. Working alongside PBPA and the Alliance for Energy Producers, we were able to directly communicate with the chairman of the PUC, as well as electric transmission and distribution companies, and provide specific coordinates. We were telling them on maps for areas and facilities so we could get power restored and get gas flowing again. As operators got back online, storage capacity across the state was depleted to keep supply up. Additionally, continuous communications with our partners at the Texas Energy Reliability Council, which I think you'll hear from later today, served to streamline and expedite solutions. Daily communications between regulators and operators and providers was critical to understanding storage withdrawals, supply needs, and infrastructure capabilities. I'd like to highlight for just a minute the remarkable overall success of the local distribution companies in Texas. LDCs are the companies that provide gas directly to residential companies. So if you have gas-powered stove or a fireplace or a furnace or heat, you're an LDC customer. As millions of homes lost electricity across Texas, only 2,153 LDC customers experienced service disruption. That means 99.95% of all customers did not lose gas in their homes. As of last night, only 16 people had not had their service restored because they're out of town or they have safety issues. 4.6 million households in Texas utilize natural gas in their homes, representing over 13 million Texans, and these families were able to continue heating their homes. This program and this system worked. So some media outlets would have you believe that natural gas producers and frozen transmission lines caused the power shortage across the state.
Commissioner, I'm sorry to interrupt real quick. Let the record reflect that Representative Guerin is now present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I sit before you today to state that these operators were not the problem. The oil and gas industry was the solution. First, we did not have any frozen transmission lines, unlike what's being reported. They continued to flow gas as much as possible. When wellhead operations faced freezing conditions, power supply was cut and outages caused a domino effect of problems. Any issues of frozen equipment or delays in process restoration could have been avoided had the production facilities not been shut down by power outages. Meanwhile, natural gas was being pulled from storage across this state at maximum capacity for multiple days. I think that's historic probably for the state. While the Railroad Commission continues to collect data, preliminary EIA reports show that while other energy sources dwindle, natural gas producers backfilled the gaps and helped to restore supply to electric power plants once power was restored in the field. The natural gas producers in our state were instrumental in restoring power supply to Texas, and I appreciate what they did to help us all. Thank you again for having me, and I'm happy to answer any questions.